Welcome to the March 10th, 2026 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. City Clerk, if you could please take the roll.
Nichols.
Here.
Amos.
Here.
Spanbauer.
Here.
Flom.
Here.
Bulow.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
Mugrauer.
Here. Leading us in the invocation and the pledge tonight will be Councilmember Nichols.
As we gather tonight, we are grateful for the good things that have come to the city. May our decisions always be ones that are for the well-being of all whom we govern.
If you all could please stand.
With liberty and justice for all.
Before we go to our public hearing, make a motion to amend the agenda for this evening to add an additional city manager statements to right after the public hearing and before the public statements to council.
Second.
Discussion on that, or you just want me to tell you why? Want to give City Manager Grill a chance to address the Oshkosh media part of this. We know we got several audience members here tonight who want to speak to it. We have some updates, we have some information we'd like to provide, or that city staff would like to provide, and would like to do that before the public statements, may answer some of the questions that are out there. And that's the reason behind it. Any questions from council? If not, if you could take the roll on amending the agenda this evening.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0 carried.
We'll start with our public hearing. Resolution 26-100, approve final resolution for the partial right-of-way vacation of Eichstad Road, 135 feet south of Freedom Ave, and Plan Commission recommends approval. This is a public hearing. If anybody's would like to speak to this, now would be the time to come forward. Second call, if anybody's here for the public hearing on right-of-way vacation of Eichstad Road, now is your time. And third and final reading, Resolution 26-100, approve final resolution for the partial right-of-way vacation of Eichstad Road. I see no one. We'll consider the public hearing closed. I'll take a motion in a second to put on the floor.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the resolution? If you can take the roll when you're ready.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Hi.
7-0 carried.
City Manager, you've got something you'd like to discuss?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council, for allowing me a few minutes to talk about the Oshkosh media and some of the information or misinformation that has been going around. First of all, I want to acknowledge the residents, volunteers, and members of the Friends of Oshkosh Community Media who might be here tonight who have reached out over the past few days to share their feedback and concerns about the future of Oshkosh Media. Oshkosh Media has been an award-winning institution serving this community for more than 40 years. And many people have invested significant time, talent, and energy into making it what it is today. Those contributions to our community are important and deserve to be recognized. Thank you. First and foremost, I want to iterate that GovTV will continue as it has. No changes are contemplated for this important access to government meetings. Over the past year, we have been taking a comprehensive look at how our services, staffing, and resources are aligned so that we can continue providing strong services to the residents while also being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Those conversations have included some difficult decisions, from things like EMS service, to reduction of staff, to resizing some of our contracts with our providers. But we're making sure that we're using our current staff as effectively as possible. And we are continuing to align our organization with the financial realities that we do have. The creation of the Communications and Engagement Division is part of that effort. Communications work has historically been spread across several departments, and in some cases, we were paying outside sources significant amounts of money to manage communication functions. Bringing all that work together allows us to improve coordination, reduce duplication, and provide residents with timely information. As part of that realignment, We have also been reviewing our communications platforms, including social media, presence, and the role of Oshkosh Media. To better understand what services the city should provide directly and where other arrangements should be made moving forward. I also want to acknowledge something that's come up in many of the recent conversations. Under our form of government, the council establishes policy direction and priorities, and the city manager is responsible for implementing these priorities and overseeing the day-to-day operations of the organization. That includes evaluating how departments are structured and how resources are aligned. At the same time, just because something may fall within that authority does not mean it should happen without the appropriate communication and insight from the community and the council. That balance is important. Within that context, I want to briefly address the meeting that occurred last week with the Friends of Oshkosh Community Media. My expectations of that meeting were that staff would share some things that we are looking into for the future and potential timeline as part of that review, not a definite transition plan. However, discussion at the meeting was not necessarily consistent with my expectations. Further discussions were and are needed. Change is never easy, and we certainly don't want to make it harder by falling short in communication, collaboration, or clarity. Those are must for us as an organization. Are we always going to get it right? No. Will we have disagreements and hard discussions? Yes. But we need to continue working towards that standard. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Drew to provide a little more information. Drew, I don't know if you want to sit here or stand up there.
Can I stand here? Is that okay? Perfect. Thank you, City Manager Grill. Those who don't know me, I'm sure everyone in here knows me a little bit by now, but I'm Drew Bailey, the Communications Engagement Manager. I just want to start off by addressing the communication that's already been clearly outlined and the reason a lot of us are here. I just want to start off by saying, most importantly, I want to sincerely apologize. I could have done this a lot better. As far as this initial communication, how it went out, I could have done a lot better. Just overall with making sure the direction and expectations of the city manager were clearly outlined, and I didn't do that. That responsibility ultimately falls on me, and I recognize I could have done a lot better job with that. So that's something I'll learn from, and then the main thing is I want to provide solutions. I'm going to talk through a couple of those things, but just again, I know this caused a lot of frustration with some really important people in the programs and things you offer to such a great community. So I apologize for that. I'm excited to talk and work with you and collaborate with you as we kind of look for the best possible solutions. All those who know me, who have gone to know me, know I'm a bit of a go-getter. I push. I think that's a big reason I was put in this role, to initiate some of these key tasks or big goals that we have. And downside with that is sometimes I go a little too quick. It may come across as what I see as being proactive or transparent, but can come across as brash and inconsiderate. And I don't want that to be my legacy or what I'm trying to accomplish here. So I take responsibility for that. And moving forward, my commitment is to slow down and communicate earlier and make sure the people most impacted are part of these conversations from the beginning. And when I just provide a brief overview, I know people don't want to listen to me talk. We have much more important voices to hear tonight, but just an overview of the situation as far as what's going forward. City Manager Grill already did a great job as far as clearly saying, again, Channel 10 or government GovTV will be staying. Nothing is changing with that. As previously shared, we're reviewing the future of live TV and the programming currently aired there, and also the community radio program 101.9, supported by these wonderful people, with the potential timeline of May 15th for concluding our support. But I want to be clear that while that timeline remains a goal, according to the goals that we have within division to accomplish these other things, that's completely flexible, and I know every single individual program has specific needs, has specific things they'll need help carrying out with, and What our goal is to provide the best solutions possible and help support you in every way we can in order to get you to just find the best support for your specific programs. We have had really great and are having great positive and constructive, very serious conversations with a couple of potential sponsors or hosts, programs that can support both the radio station and the programs or these things that are being made for live TV. So I'm excited about those. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks I can give more detail. I've reached out to the majority of people in this room and we'll continue as far as letting you know within the next 2 weeks we'll hopefully have clear updates with that and what that looks like, but also having those conversations individually to seeing how we can support and what we can do. Just an overview of what our communication and engagement division does and what we will be doing and what we're taking on. More than ever, we're taking on the responsibilities. City Manager Grill already kind of addressed those as far as when it comes to our social media plan, new city website that's coming out, and also the high goal to cover all departments and organizations within the city by providing high quality, top tier content. These are things that we are working on and things that we will need to continue to do with the team that has now been assigned with us. So it's something we're very excited about, but also means we have to be extremely thoughtful of how we use the time, space, and resources we have in order to meet those expectations of this division and serve the entire organization well. So we'll just need to, again, this is a process, it's something we're working through, but we want to make sure that our team members and everything as far as the responsibilities are being used to their full capacity to meet these goals. I, again, don't want to take too much time. Just want to say thank you. I know there's a lot of voices I'm excited to hear from, and I'm grateful for everyone that showed up today, excited to collaborate and find solutions, and I continue making Oshkosh great. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Ms. Grill, anything more from?
No, I just appreciate the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, council, I know because of the shuffling a little bit or adding this, generally, we'd probably talk or we'd provide feedback or ask questions later in the agenda because that's normally where we would do it under under that statements area. By doing this, it kind of makes it a little awkward of us speaking before the citizens have. If you have stuff, now is the time maybe. Otherwise, save it for council member announcements and statements area, which you are free to share anything you'd like under that space. If you're okay with that, if that's appropriate for the rest of you. I know just kind of threw off the normal flow tonight, and I apologize for that, but wanted to have that, give staff the time and space to do that before the citizens shared their thoughts with us. Okay. Okay. We're going to move on to public statements to council then. Mr. Terry Slife is up first. Russ Potrat's following. As you're coming on up, a reminder. Public is to address council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes. Statements must address an item, in this case. Usually it's not on the agenda. This follows. Limited to issues that have an impact on the city of Oshkosh, that the common council may address at a future meeting. Must not include any endorsements of any candidates or other electioneering. Generally, the council cannot respond to questions, comments, or remarks during this time. It's not a discussion period. This is an opportunity for you to address us, the council.
I don't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. I do have one other thing, but yeah.
Okay, we talked, order of, maybe I'm just now getting, order of operations here. We would talk about this later in the agenda is the intent.
Generally, yes. Which is tough, and I know.
Yeah, I guess I would like to, if council could talk about this after the public, I don't know if there's an ability to do that, or I don't know how many of you are going to stick around until the end, I guess, and I think maybe citizenry would like to look at what the council thinks, or.
You know why I'm looking at you. Well, the tricky part is this is not an agenda item, but yet it's under city manager statements and city manager part of the discussion tonight.
So I think it would be appropriate if you wanted to hear the citizens first to include comments, because this is not an action item we're talking about. At the end, there is an item on the agenda for council statements.
Yep.
So I think it would be appropriate to, if you had summation or final comments at that time would be appropriate.
Okay, but not after the citizen statements.
I would say not after citizen statements.
my
No,
understanding.
That is not, that isn't for sure not on the agenda for
Yep.
council comments, so I would wait until the council comment item on the agenda.
Point of order?
I do think we're going to probably get there pretty fast,
Yeah.
but
I was just going to say, could we not just move the council statements up after citizen statements?
that's an option. Would council prefer that?
Yeah, I think we deserve to have that discussion, I think, in front of people after they've spoken, or at least that's my preference.
Hey,
I only speak for one person.
City Clerk, can I make another motion to amend the agenda this evening? To add, after the public statements to council, an additional council member announcements and statements.
Second.
Why don't we just take the roll on that one?
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Plum.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrower.
Aye.
7-0 carried.
Excellent. As I mentioned, 5 minutes. And I generally don't remind people of this, but I am going to remind people of this. Public is to address council only, and please refrain from any comments, any personal comments or personal attacks during this. Mr. Terry Slife, followed by Russ Potratz. Good evening. Welcome. Yeah, if you could come on up to this one. Thank you. And good evening.
As I listen to your comment, I'm wondering that, I hope I'm in the right place to present this anyway. Kathy and I live on Sheridan Street. Our property adjoins Tech Miller Park here in Oshkosh. A couple of years ago, a pickleball court started playing pickleball loudly, 12, 15 hours a day. The residents next to the pickleball court, some of them are 8 yards away from the pickleball court. And I know that some of you play pickleball and have some idea of how loud it is. Kathy has lived in our residence for 36 years, and for 34 of that, she enjoyed a very peaceful home and environment, and that was taken away. We used to enjoy our backyard, sitting on the deck, sitting on our patio, sitting in our home. We can't do that anymore with the pickleball. There's a constant crack, 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 and the decibel levels must exceed reasonable decibel levels that are set in other residential areas around the state. Now, I know that nationwide, these complaints and lawsuits have been showing up more and more because of pickleball. For me, I went from loving where I live to almost hating it during the summer. We don't sit out on our deck and eat anymore. We don't invite friends or family over anymore. I feel I get all wound up, and I start to pace. I just feel like I'm being forced to leave. I've thought about moving, which will bring her to tears. We've had a generous offer from one of your council members to trade houses with us. What we're hoping for is that the council would begin to develop setback limits for this type of situation where you've got this kind of noise disturbing and taking away what I consider the rights of homeowners. I mean, I feel like my rights as a homeowner just don't exist. You know, that the need to provide a place for people to play pickleball outweighs all of the owners in the area who have lived there for 20, 30, 40 years in a very peaceful environment that has now just been completely taken away. I don't know how to move forward from here. I probably will look better tomorrow after I talk with Gene, our attorney. like I say at the end, I don't want this to be an adversarial type of relationship. I would just like to see the possibility of a resolution, such as, I know that they've come up with softer paddles and balls for pickleball. I know that. I've been doing a lot of research. Perhaps in a situation like this, where the residents and the pickleball court are that close together, and it's completely disturbing the neighborhood, perhaps something could be put in a policy that said that in those circumstances, people who use that court need to have the quieter paddles and balls, and give some respect to the ownership of the park. Do you think of anything else to say? So I don't know how to move forward from this, but that's what we wanted to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ Potratz, followed by Tony Palmieri. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Mugarauer, council members. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to speak. My name is Russ Potratz, and I serve as the president of Friends of Oshkosh Community Media. It's a nonprofit that has supported Oshkosh media for decades. Through fundraising, volunteer labor, equipment ownership and stewardship of nearly 30 years, and archive local programming. I'm here today because of the city's decision, and I'll just let you know, this is as of about noon today, so some of this may have already been taken care of. I'm here today because of the city's decision to eliminate community access television and radio, with broadcasting ending May 15th, which represents a profound loss for government transparency, civic engagement, and a historical record of the community. Oshkosh Media has been broadcasting since 1987. For almost 40 years, these channels have ensured that every resident, regardless of income, age, or digital access, can see their government at work. No social media feed, no websites, and no private platform replicates that level of accessibility or public accountability. The Friends Board was given minimal notice of this shutdown last Thursday, and the public was given none. This abrupt timeline leaves no room for responsible planning, community input, or preservation of services residents rely on. It also jeopardizes the long-term future assets that we own, including WOCT 101 low power FM license, the radio tower attached to the City Hall, and decades of irreplaceable broadcast archives. We are asking the council to do three things: delay the May 15 shutdown, allow for proper engagement and transition planning, provide clear explanation of the data and the process used to justify eliminating the channels, work collaboratively with the Friends of Oshkosh Media to ensure that public access to government meetings and community programming is not lost and offered in the broadest sense. Oshkosh deserves transparency, Oshkosh deserves access, and Oshkosh deserves a thoughtful, community-centered process, not rushed dismantling of nearly 40 years of public service. So thank you for your time, and you have my letter and this abbreviated overview, and I hope our process works over the next coming weeks, months, and maybe throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Palmieri, followed by Kobe Schellinger. Good evening.
Thank you. Tony Palmieri, 212 West Parkway Avenue. I've not been very active with Oshkosh Media the last few years, but as many of you know, I was very, very active for a while there. I want to thank the city manager for her statement this evening, offering appreciation for the programming. That's the first time we've heard that publicly, so it's much appreciated. Also want to thank Mr. Bailey for the apology for how it's been handled so far. So my point, I guess, would be that now that we have the thanks and the appreciation and the apology, now we have to get the policy right. And I think what Mr. Potratz just advocated is a direction that I would like to see the council go in. I want to remind the council of what the stated mission is of Life TV: to provide an electronic free speech forum that promotes, encourages, and reflects the cultural diversity of the Oshkosh community. So far, in all the discussion I've heard about the communication and engagement division, I'm not hearing that. And promoting the cultural diversity does not mean sending staff out to film a meeting. It means giving people an actual opportunity to produce their own messages. And that's what the studios of Oshkosh Community Media have done. So I really hope we can find a way to keep the studio, and if anything, encourage more people to use those facilities so that we can have the most rich representation of the diversity that we all know exists in the city, but is too often marginalized and not heard. And that's why I think it would be a really bad mistake at this point to let that go. I just want to spend the rest of my time just offering some celebration to people who've been involved in Oshkosh Community Media. We really don't do enough celebration. In addition to Mr. Potratz, who's been wonderful, John Neiman, if you've never seen his show, The Place to Be, John has done more for volunteer recruitment in this city over years than anyone I've ever known. No one has done as much as he has. Mike Hurt, a great patriot, a man of great courage and integrity, his show, The Outpost, gives such a powerful voice to veterans, and we need to find a way to keep that going, because what Mike is doing, along with John, is a treasure for this city that we have to find a way to keep going. My good friend Cheryl Hentz, who's been hosting and producing Eye on Oshkosh for so long, Cheryl is an authentic voice of working class Oshkosh. And she deserves more than to be told, as do John and Mike. They deserve to be more than to be told, well, just go find a way to get your program on YouTube. The city helping these people produce their outstanding messages is very important, because one thing all these people have in common, and I've noticed this when I've worked in Oshkosh media, we're trained in this country to always think left versus right, but these folks think of right versus wrong. And that's what we want to see the city do here. Let's do the right thing for the citizens. And let me close by just trying to debunk one narrative I'm hearing out there, that somehow citizens who use Oshkosh Community Media Services are involved in vanity projects that no one watches. The people that I've just mentioned and many others, this has nothing to do with vanity projects. Anyone who's worked in producing local media knows the sheer amount of work and effort it takes to do it. And once again, I want to thank the city manager for publicly appreciating that. And now let's try and get the policy right. And I hope that at a minimum, it goes on the agenda for the next meeting and the council can have a really good discussion about how we move forward in a way that I hope will preserve the studios for the citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Schillinger, followed by Kerry Tetzloff. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Kobe Skillinger, 315 Sunnybrook Drive. I wish I hadn't picked the day that all the professional communicators were speaking to you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience voting in the spring primary. Had a great experience. I'm a Ward 12 voter, and for a couple of years I represented Ward 12 on the county board. And so a lot of my neighbors know me as the guy who tells them when to vote, where to vote, and answer questions about, how to do an absentee ballot or, whatever else. So, we're west of Highway 41, and we used to vote at Father Carr's, and we were now voting at the Culver Center. I went in, easy peasy, walked out with a great guy, had a great conversation, met a whole bunch of cool people working the polls. There were a lot of wayfinders, which was necessary because it was kind of a long walk. But everything was set up really well. But I wanted to also share a couple of experiences that other people had. I got a text from a friend that said they wanted to confirm that they had the right date. They showed up at Father Carr's, and there was no poll workers or any of that stuff. I said, right date, but they've changed the location. He went, had a good experience, but by the time his wife got off of work at 6, She felt like it was, and then found out that it was the wrong place, thought it was a little too far to go, whatever. I might disagree with that, but it was a barrier for her, and she didn't end up voting. That weekend, we were talking with some neighbors, we were having dinner, and somebody said, oh, I didn't even realize there was an election because I drove by and didn't see anything set up, so I thought I had the wrong date. Went to work, forgot to check. I think, and so she didn't vote. I think, anytime there's changes, big changes to things that people have been ingrained in, it's pretty thematic, I guess. Communication is really important. I think, a lot of people miss that. My wife went after work. She sent me a text with a picture of Chandler Bing from the TV show Friends with a caption, "Could this walk be any further?" And, I think not a big deal for a lot of people, but for some people it is. And I know we have curbside voting and things like that, but, this is the longest walk I think, people in Oshkosh have to get from the parking lot into the polling place. The handicap parking isn't really that close to the entrance, especially when you compare it to other polling locations. And last week I was at the We Heart You conference at the Culver Center, a great community event that highlights the resilience and recovery in our community. And there were over 600 people there. I know a lot of them walked, and I showed up 15 minutes before it started, thinking that was fine. It was not. I had to park about a block and a half away. And so I just wonder, when you get to a fall election where we're used to seeing 2,000 people vote at Father Carr's, are we going to have enough capacity to park people, or are we going to have people turned away because there isn't sufficient parking? It's a little challenging, whatever. So. And then I was thinking about my friends that didn't vote, and I looked at the numbers. And if you look at the city and you compare the spring turnout in the 2025 primary to the 2026 primary, and you exclude sorry, this is kind of a long track here, but you exclude the ward that had a competitive or a primary on a county board seat, the citywide average was a decline of 4.6% turnout. In the two wards, mine 12, and I forget the number, but along Menominee Park, that moved to Culver Center, they saw more than a 10% decrease in turnout. So I just think these are things, that I notice. I wanted to bring them up. I hope there's more communication about where the polling place is for April, and I really hope that the council considers more polling locations throughout the city for the fall election. Thanks.
Thank you. Carrie Tetzlaff, followed by John Neiman. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for everything you do for Oshkosh. I'm here to talk about the Oshkosh media communication rollout, some of the decision-making that's in process, and just concerns I have about transparency and the need to really get citizen input before making major decisions about city programming. Just to share some personal relationships with Oshkosh media, I enjoy Oshkosh media content, live TV. I watch it. As a nonprofit employee in the past, I was interviewed several times on Happy Tales and did educational programming to help share good information with the community about animals. I've been interviewed on Oshkosh as a business owner. For me, it's a source of civic pride. I was watching the Oshkosh Outlook 2026 recording, also aired on Oshkosh Media because I couldn't attend, and so a topic that came up was that sometimes in Oshkosh we feel like we might have a self-esteem problem. I have a lot of pride of programs like Oshkosh Media, Live TV, certainly GovTV is important. These are things that matter to me as a citizen. Just on a personal note too, I don't want to embarrass him, but I have a wonderful brother-in-law that's been a longtime volunteer of Oshkosh Media. If you've ever been to a parade, if you look up high on the scaffolding, he's operating a camera, recording the parade. Just all these wonderful people come together to produce shows, to run the equipment, to edit, to make sure all this great information gets out to residents here. I have concerns about the transparency involved with the decision-making process. And as a citizen, I would love to hear council speak more to how different departments within the city can work together to make decisions, such as the future of Life TV. I reached out to council when I heard about this last week. A couple of you got back to me. Thank you so much for your comments. Something I heard over and over from council members is we didn't know what was happening with this decision, and we're still researching it ourselves. And that feels backwards to me. It feels like making a decision about Oshkosh Media should start with measuring the impact that the decision would have on taxpayers and citizens and getting input, and there should be a data-driven component to decision-making that really captures data about the impact of the choice. It should come before you all. We should have a chance as a community to weigh in proactively rather than reactively. Before even emailing you all, the first thing I thought of after I heard from other people in the community who are involved and heard the message either from the board meeting or from an email, I thought, well, I'm going to go look for a press release because there's got to be a press release on this, right? And there was none to be found. So again, just it feels like the communication rollout was really backwards here. Like Tony Palmieri, I want to thank our city manager, Drew Bailey, for the acknowledgement of the gifts that Oshkosh Media has given the community, and also the apology for how this information was shared. And want to thank Drew for being willing to very quickly set up a telephone call to discuss it. Some information that was shared with me that concerns me is that I asked kind of a few times how this decision-making process happened, what was the timeline, and how far back was this decision made. I remembered attending budget meetings here and seeing the listed goals for Oshkosh Media, and I didn't see any goals listed for these types of outcomes for the program, nor did I see goals that suggested this was a possibility in the communication and engagement department listed goals. So to me, this felt like just a left field change. The information I was given is that this decision was made by one person within the last 6 weeks. That feels very rushed. That feels incredibly rushed. And for a new department with new staff, it feels like an awful lot of responsibility for a single person to have. So I just wanted to share that, how that felt to hear that as a citizen. And I look forward to hearing more from you all about maybe how this should work in a best practice way as we continue to advocate for changes. I want to also just mention, I heard that one of the longtime producers at Oshkosh Media didn't even receive an email and found out about this decision after she showed up to air a program. And I just think about the hurt you would feel after giving that many years of service to your community, and then to find out that your platform has been removed when you show up and have to go on camera. Just feels unfair. So, in closing, what I would advocate for would be pushing this timeline back. I think May 15th is extremely rushed. I think we should go back and try to engage with our community and have more of a citizen and community member oriented decision-making process where we can get this input and do this the right way. I really strongly advocate for keeping all of the programs, not just GovTV. I'm relieved to hear there's been an amended change that will still have those televised meetings. That's important for folks that maybe aren't as internet savvy to jump on YouTube and watch a meeting. But I would advocate for maintaining Live TV too. I think it's an important way for citizens to share their personal beliefs and to express the culture here in Oshkosh and the diversity of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. John Neiman, followed by Mike Hurt. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. John Neiman, 1078 West 4th Ave. I'm wondering if somebody can buzz me when my 5 minutes is done, because I'm a pastor.
Happy to.
I'm a pastor, and you know how long sermons can go.
I appreciate you giving me the blessing to do so.
Thank you. So I am a lifelong resident of Oshkosh. I only left my wonderful community to go out in the ministry, and then I came back. I got involved with Oshkosh Media because two people, Connie Carmichael and John Urban, asked me to. So I've been involved 24 years with Oshkosh Media as a board member, as a committee member. I've hosted 2 shows. So my shows have been on for 20 years. My first show that I started was called Helping Hands, and I did that show because I knew how important PR is to not-for-profits. Not-for-profits don't have it in their budget to go out there and do big ads and all that, so my guests on my show were not-for-profits and volunteers. The show that I do now, which is an award-winning show, for the last 3 years in a row, my show has won an award of excellence. Just to put that out there, and I don't brag. I can't brag because my wife always tells me it's the Holy Spirit, it's not you. Don't brag. But I'm proud of the work that I do and that Oshkosh Community Access does. What I'm a little disappointed in, and I'm hoping it will change by the email that we got today, is the experience that I had with the communication and engagement team. It was not good. I was the first one to call after I got the email last Thursday. I was the first one to call the office and express my opinions. And I said, what am I supposed to do about my show now? And he said, put it on YouTube. I call my children, I'm 65, just retired, I call my children how to reset the remote control and the microwave. I'm supposed to suddenly know how to go on YouTube and do all this when the wonderful team at Oshkosh Media has been doing this for us. I also worry about the volunteers at Oshkosh Media. I also worry about the sponsors. I don't know if everybody knows, but we get sponsors to pay for our shows. They pay good money for that. And when I didn't get sponsors in the beginning, I paid for my show myself out of my own pocket because I thought it was that important to have a show on celebrating our community. Dealing with the office, and I said, I hope it does change, but to me, communication is supposed to be open. And engagement, doesn't engagement mean talking to people? We called, and through connections, we called Fox 11 and WBAY, I'm not sure if you saw them, the stories that they did. And we were on there, we took the time to be on there, but the office did a phone interview. A phone interview about what was going on. While the office was there when we were taping, they were physically there while we were taping, and they do a phone interview? Is that good communication? Is that engagement? I don't think so. I'm hoping that stuff will change. We also, through the TV station, wanted to go into Oshkosh Media and get a picture, a video of all the awards that have been won over the years. Not just my shows, all of them. We were denied that. We were told that we could not videotape or tape just for the TV, the awards that were sitting there in the lobby of Oshkosh Media. Is that community engagement? And I am passionate about this because I love Oshkosh Media. I wouldn't have done it for 24 years if I didn't. And I just think there's got to be a change. Live TV is everything to me. I have counted, and I'm a nobody in Oshkosh. I'm nobody. I work for not-for-profits. I'm a nobody, really. I've had 55 phone calls just from people who watch my show wondering what's going on. So I really think something needs to be done before decisions like these are made, and through an email. Through an email. That's communication? I don't think so. Why couldn't we have gotten together as producers and presented this information to us? So yes, I'm passionate, and I have to watch what I say because my daughter-in-law, who is in the communication field, told me, watch what you say. But I am passionate about this. I'm passionate about the wonderful crew, Jake, Ian, Scott, Andy. I've worked with them for 24 years. And again, the only reason I did it was because somebody asked me, and that's the heart of a true volunteer in our community. You ask somebody, and they will do it. Just like my sponsors. If you go on, I asked my sponsors to sponsor my show. I have great sponsors. They pay for it so I don't have to, so I want to thank them too. But I'm asking you as the council, what's going to happen to all those people who sponsor all those shows, who give the money to put it on? I really appreciate the time that you give to listen to this. And I know you didn't give me the signal, so I haven't used 5 minutes, but I'm going to end it early anyway. I appreciate this, and I really do think a station that's been around for 40 years and its community, all you have to do is look up community in your dictionary and you will see Oshkosh Media. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Hurt, and then followed by Carmen Scott.
I'm looking and I'm going, I guess going over here, your chiropractors will thank you for shifting position now. My name is Michael Hurt. I live at 1808 Ohio Street. I've resided in Oshkosh since 1979. This is home. I love this place. I love Oshkosh. And what I want to do is talk about the elimination of Oshkosh Media and the ceasing of operations for the radio station and TV. Thomas Jefferson once stated, whenever things get so far wrong as to attract their attention and notice, the people may be relied upon to get it right. I believe that I'm probably the first local producer for Access, OCAT, OCM, OM. I'm about to age myself, but the very first show was Vital Signs, and it was with Mercy Medical Center on Hazel Street. And we had a pretty good little show there. And then eventually, things changed, and I kind of got into the realm of politics a little bit. Had a nice show there. We talked about, I had elected officials on, candidates, and we literally had from city, county, state, and federal officials on. I have a combined total of 31 years of military service, and with the Army between active duty, Guard, and Reserve. After the events of 9/11, life changed, and I ended up having multiple deployments, twice to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, and twice to the Horn of Africa. And I was medically retired in January 2015. I then became active in the veterans community. Together, myself and a fellow Afghanistan veteran, Adam Alexander, we co-host a show called The Outpost. And The Outpost, it's a veteran-orientated show, and we bring in local veterans, and I always like to, this is important to me, I like to start off each show, and I will have a veteran tell their story, because every veteran is a piece of U.S. history. And I like to be able to have them tell their story. And then we like to talk about maybe some of the events in the veterans community, issues, struggles that people are having, and so forth. Though, just case in point, like last show I did, I had a national service officer and a chapter service officer on. And they talked about how veterans can access the VA, their benefits, and so forth. We actually, DAV Chapter 17, we actually have an office in the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce. Thursday afternoons, we have chapter service officers that staff it. And so it was a great opportunity to be able to say to those people, right here in Oshkosh, you got some folks you can talk to. Our next show, March 26th, that was to be on our women veterans. And to be able to talk with, we actually have a women's veterans committee that is very active. That was for March 26th, we're going to have it. Two things I want to share real quick. We had one gentleman on, and Green Beret, 2 tours in Vietnam, 3 Purple Hearts. And he talked about his experiences in Vietnam. That outpost was the first time he talked about his experiences. That show. We had one other show where we had Vietnam veterans, all Marines, all that, yeah, it was interesting, but they all had the same turf, same territory, and it was almost a cathartic experience with folks. And that's the magic that happens. That's the magic that occurs. So basically, in a nutshell, Thursday, March 5th, 3 o'clock, I got the email from Mr. Bailey, Communications and Engagement Manager, that GovTV and Life TV would be ending as of May 15th. Now, GovTV, I understand that's been changed and that's been saved. I gotta tell you, gang, I was shocked. I had never heard anything on this matter that this was going to end. I called Mr. Bailey the following day, March 6th, and asked, who is behind this? What was going on? And he said it was a decision of the leadership team, and it's reflected in the 2026 operational budget. When I think of the leadership team, that's you. Yet I don't know if I ever heard you speak on it. I don't know if it's been an agenda item. I could be wrong. Currently, the Oshkosh Patriotic Council, which actually is a council, is a committee of the chamber, or a committee of the council here, the 2026 Memorial Day procession, they're actually doing planning right now for it. And I asked, what's the game plan for the 2026 Memorial Day procession? The response was, I don't know. That doesn't inspire confidence, gang. And something I want you to think about. July 4th, the 250th birthday of our country. And you know, we put on a fabulous parade here in Oshkosh. And it's one of those that's viewed, it's huge. Is that going to be covered? I don't know. I don't know. In a nutshell, we got a wonderful quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hurt. Carmen Scott, and then Mr. Dennis Strong. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Carmen Scott, 521 Otter. It takes a big person to say I'm sorry. So thank you very much for taking the heat, not just tonight, but many, many days since it's announced. You know I have a lot of respect for you. I wasn't going to come because I came out last night and I'm tired, but I did a version of this little talk that we're going to give, and people messaged me because I guess they know who I am. And they said, oh, you're going to go. They need to hear this. So this was written before some things have come to light. It will come across as snarky. I am the voice of the people who are not here. The people who are angry, but they don't show up. So they asked, and here we go. There's a song I hear running through my brain as I try and wrap my head around what's happening with Oshkosh media. Isn't it ironic that the new city manager who was hired on a platform of transparency has not even been remotely transparent when it comes to dismantling the headquarters of Oshkosh Media? And isn't it ironic that the producers who have used that studio, some for decades, and rallied volunteers to be part of supporting and communicating with Oshkosh through their shows, learned the news in an email? Well, not everyone got an email. And isn't it ironic that besides doing a poor job at being transparent, they also didn't even have an email list of every show producer, and some of them found out in the worst possible way? People are saying that the decision was done unilaterally by the current city manager of Oshkosh, Rebecca Grill. I don't know if that's true, but I do know it's a slap in the face to those who have been given significant hours of their lives to make Oshkosh a better place to live. Out of nowhere, with no public discussion or input, no public discussion by the Oshkosh Common Council, and certainly no vote by that governing body, the closure of Oshkosh Media is happening effective May 15th, 2026. The recording station and current Oshkosh Media TV studio will no longer function as a TV studio or creation space. This means the space volunteers have been using to produce their content will no longer be available, and the public access channel will no longer operate or accept content for air. According to our new communications director, Drew Bailey, none of this is happening because the programs or the product or the services being provided now are bad. They're amazing. They're great. This truly is because of a restructuring process, not because of budget cuts. That sounds good on paper, and had there been an opportunity to come together as a community and have a discussion and to learn more, I would still think it stinks, but I would have understood. Because they did not, people are rightfully angry, and the rumor mills, which are always an issue in Oshkosh, are running overtime. Isn't it ironic that the city of Oshkosh consistently begs for volunteers for a host of things, yet just dumps them when they decide to go in a different direction? I happen to be a big volunteer and believe that a city runs best when partnerships between paid and unpaid people. But guess what? Unpaid does not mean underappreciated, and that's what people are feeling right about now. So isn't it ironic that at a time when we need to be working together to shore up our image, and these shows have done that for many, many years, our city has gotten a big black eye because, I guess, transparency is just a word in the spelling bee. I understand that city council meetings will be available to view on YouTube, and the city says they will help people figure out how to get their shows on that platform. Of course, that's provided they actually have access to equipment to create content. How likely is that? You know what's not ironic? Because there was no transparency, it's simply one more reason that some people don't trust or like the people who run the city. That's not what you want. I don't have the longevity in this city as most of you. I have only been a guest. I've never produced my own show. But I hear people, and when I, who am not an elected official, not a producer, have nothing to do with this, I have very little skin in the game, when I'm getting emails saying, are you going to the meeting? Are you going to drive this? That's not something, that's really my job. That's your job. We want transparency, and you hear that word a lot. We want people to be kind to each other, and we want a better Oshkosh. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Strong, and then is there anybody else here that would like the opportunity to speak to us under citizen statements? Just want to make sure, otherwise Mr. Strong is the last one. Excellent. Mr. Strong, good evening. Welcome.
So my name is Dennis Strong, and I currently reside in Oshkosh, but I'm a native of Appleton. And I spoke
Mr.
before.
Strong,
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell you right now, that qualifies as electioneering, and it's not allowed here. It's not allowed anywhere. So that's the only warning you get this evening, and
Okay.
for subsequent meetings into the future.
Understood. It was
Thank
just
you.
speaking a little bit about my roots. Okay, so now moving forward, I spoke before this committee on January 13th, February 10th, and February 24th. I do want to state that what parties may see me blog on social media about Councilmember Carl Belo, I can state this much, that John Damo, who is the former county executive here, concedes with my opinion on Mr. Damo. Last summer, across the street at the Winnebago County Courthouse in the parking lot, an Appleton attorney named Jeff Kippa sternly stated to me, Dennis, you are in the wrong county about me being down here in Oshkosh because of the political differences in what my life has been about and where things are at today. And Jeff Kippa knows me well from, he represented my father in 2009, where my father had improvised explosive devices and held me hostage in Hortonville, and Fox 11 News ran a flawed news story of that. The particulars surrounding that were brought to the attention thereafter in a 21-paragraph affidavit notarized, submitted to Special Agent in Charge Nancy McNamara, who was the head of the Milwaukee FBI at the time. Mayor, I want to state last time when I was here speaking, before I went to speak, you approached me in the peanut gallery back here and said, Mr. Strong, you will not go 1 second over 5 minutes. Not that there was a problem with me speaking before the people of Oshkosh about matters of a public concern, a community concern, a statewide concern. You sternly came to me with disdain because I speak the truth here to what you want to curtail to what suits your own agendas and your political good old boys club. On February 10th, I was up here at the Peanut Gallery speaking, or up here, I'm sorry. And when I was done speaking, occasionally during these meetings, people here whisper to one another. People, the powers that be of the city do. But the chief of this police department, Dean Smith, sitting in the back, he decided when I attempted to whisper to him, that was inconsistent with the continuity of other whispering in here, that don't talk. You're not allowed to talk. The chief of this police department stated that to me, not because of whispering, it's he didn't like what I said up here about truthful stuff that can be found on YouTube in my past statement. I can state this much, the City of Oshkosh Police Department has flawed investigations of my complaint that District Attorney Winnebago County, the District Attorney Eric Spar of Winnebago County, Eric Spar, assumed liability on behalf of the county where I had a theft that occurred on government property. I could state this much, that, let me just slide past some of that stuff and leave that alone there and move forward to Oshkosh Attorney Dan Musa. You have an attorney here in this town who's accepted illegal drug trafficking profits from an individual named Leon Elboyd, who's currently on a $50,000 bond in Wapaka County for a fatal fentanyl overdose. Leon Elboyd has paid Dan Musa illegal drug trafficking profits to represent multiple flunkies of his. One being Kenneth Wright, who Oshkosh police officer Paul Fry had federally indicted. Another one of his drug running flunkies, Russell Cross. And I'm short on time. I had a few more other things to say, but no, you have some lawyers that practice law in this city that don't take hard-earned money for their legal fees. Thank you.
Thank you. One final time, is anybody else here tonight that would like to speak to us under citizen statements? That would be non-agenda related items. I don't see anybody. Excellent. We'll consider that part closed. We do have a council member announcements and statements part that we got added. I think you were the one who were looking for it, so if you want to go first, you go right ahead.
Sure. I'll click it now. Yeah, I guess I did want to have council discuss the issue a little bit, right? I think it's, we need to have this discussion up here. It's a discussion that hasn't happened. I wasn't planning on going first. I was planning on a lot of people saying other things, but I'll start off with saying, I heard the word change a lot today, and I heard people talk about pride in Oshkosh, right? I think everybody that spoke up here has a lot of pride up in Oshkosh, and I really enjoy seeing that. And as I talk about change in government, I think I want to illustrate this point that when government changes, it does affect people, right? I know in the private sector, we often get compared to if a business or CEO or someone changes something, it really only affects a product or employees or something like that. They can make quick knee-jerk reactions. They can make changes very quickly. Government can't. Government, when we have a policy, when we put in a new road, when we cut funding to something, it has wide-reaching effects on everybody's lives. And because of that, we can't, change is good, but with government, it has to be intentful. I think here, for me at City Hall, I like to try to see data. I like to try to see a plan. I like to try to see public input. I think all these things are necessary when we decide to have a large change. I really want to commend staff for saying this probably wasn't the best rollout, right? I think that was probably one of the biggest issues behind this. But again, for me, if we're going to make a large decision here, I want to see an intentful plan. I want to see some data behind it. I want to see that discussion. And I want us to have, if we are going to move in that direction, maybe that is the right direction, but I want to have those discussions. I want to have that input. I want to make sure that citizens, that myself, that staff all gets an opportunity to do that. So again, I was a little disappointed at how this came out. I know I kind of said I wanted to reserve my judgment until staff gave their input, and you guys are professionals. You're good at your jobs, right? I mean, we're all going to drop the ball sometime. I really would like to empower you to work with us, to work with citizens, to help right this ship, to help ensure we do have transparent, good communication. So again, I also am going to maybe put a little bit of onus on us. We do have this goal, and I'm going to talk about goals in a few minutes here. We have the goal of implementing a communications department. We have this goal of implementing better communication. We didn't meet the mark here, and I want to make sure that we do. And again, I think this discussion is good. I want to thank everybody for coming up here and expressing your pride in Oshkosh. We do sometimes have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, but we love our community very deeply. So thank you.
Mr. Flom, then Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to echo that. I think, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who's involved themselves in Oshkosh media for many, many years. I also want to thank everybody coming here and speaking tonight and telling their story and their interactions with Oshkosh media and the positives that they've drawn from that. I've been a guest on Oshkosh media. I have participated in a number of interviews. I've also used Oshkosh media to watch not just government meetings, but to really get a grasp of what this community is all about. And for this, I'm also going to echo the point that, while I'm not opposed to change and I'm not opposed to seeing what we can do to be more efficient, I realize that that does impact people. And in this case, I think the city did drop the ball here. We could have done a better job with this, a much better job. So I think what has been presented to us by Friends of OCM is not it's not unreasonable. I think it's good starting points to work with. I think also, council should have been a little bit more involved in the process. I think this is something that we should have discussed in open session, something that we should have engaged the public with. And so going forward, I would like to see a clear plan, a clear explanation with data behind it, and engaging all the relevant stakeholders here. I think that's something that we should be doing at a minimum when we're taking such a large decision like this. So I appreciate everybody for showing up here today. I think this is something that we can obviously improve on as a governing body. And I think we owe it to you guys to carry that out and to see to that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. And I'll echo what they said, too, about everyone coming to speak tonight. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the emails. I appreciate all the Facebook comments. Even when we may disagree with what if they're about this issue or something else, it's so important that the community does make itself heard in whichever way it can. With that said, I also want to talk about how proud I am of our city leadership here. So taking a step back, 2 years ago when I joined council, we go on tours of city departments, and we get to see actually how the city runs. We can do a ride along with a police officer, we can go walk through the water filtration plant, and we actually see the people that run the city every day, that do the hard work. And I remember I was talking to an Oshkosh employee at the wastewater treatment plant, which is where everything goes down the drain that you don't necessarily want to be there. And I remember we walked through it and he was showing me exactly what he does every day. And I'll tell you, I'm not a science person. I went to law school because science and math are not my thing. And this guy is doing chemistry and biology every day. And I talked to him about what he did. And I said, how did you get to be this person? And I said, it's crazy that no one knows that we have people on staff that do this. And what he said to me was, well, if my name is in the newspaper, something is really wrong. And what we know is that there's always going to be mistakes, but as I'm looking around this room, I see Dean in the back, and we know that his police force is out every single day doing their job perfectly. I see James back there, and his people, he's in charge of the guy I talked about earlier. These people are out there working every single day. So first, thank God that the thing that we screwed up was communicating something that might be decided in the future. I want to thank the city manager. I'll tell you, we talk a lot about process and policy is our job. But the biggest job we have is hiring the city manager in our form of government. We did that with Rebecca Grill, and what her job is to hire her staff. She did that with Drew. And what we saw Drew to do today is say, wait a minute, I got a little ahead of my skis here. I announced something that hadn't been completely decided yet because I was in a meeting, and I said something. And then we saw Rebecca come and say, you know what, I take responsibility for this. This wasn't the plan yet. And so I'm proud to sit up here as our council and say, you know what, we're going to have conversations about Oshkosh media. We're going to have conversations about wastewater treatment plant. We're going to talk about a bridge across 41, and there's going to be a spirited debate about all of it. But I will say that the process worked exactly how it's supposed to. There was a miscommunication, and there was accountability for it, and people spoke up about it. And now we're talking about it today. So I hope that while you might be upset and maybe feel a little bit hopeless because a decision came out in an email that was inappropriate and curt, I hope that you understand that the process is working exactly how it's supposed to, and your voice matters, and we're all listening. Thanks.
Mr. Bealow.
I'm not going to reiterate what everybody else said, so I'm going to pick up kind of where everybody else left off. One of the things I want to call out, and Rebecca started with this, is that she could say that this is a city manager decision and we hire her to be the CEO, and that is true. This decision, while we didn't talk about it up here, one of the things that I've relayed to people is it is consistent with the budget, the goals, and the direction that we have given her. So this isn't a decision that was made out of pocket or with nothing ever being said about it. I know from my time that this was a large component of the $28 million remodel that Mark Roloff told us about, that he recommended for the City Hall before he even left. And that was not palatable at that time, nor is that a check that I want to write today, which is why that check has not been authorized. I know I was meeting with somebody who served on council before me, and they said they were having this discussions back in 2020 about the space and the staffing utilization of Oshkosh Media and how to better make that work. And obviously, since then, there's been a large pandemic and other things that have come through. So while I just wanted to say that first of all, that none of the thing that I heard tonight that disturbed me most is when one of the community members made it seem like people were saying that this is vanity projects, and that's terrible, because I have never said that. I hope nobody in city staff has ever said it. But the things that I read over the weekend that hurt me the most is when people were posting that the city manager has gone rogue or the communication director has gone rogue. No. Just because I didn't know about a decision that was coming doesn't mean that it wasn't something that was consistent with what the direction we've given. Now, my feedback to both of them has been, well, I need to know the answers to the questions before the questions get asked. And they've both been like, yep, that's where we've gone wrong here, is that we didn't have everything figured out. And throughout this process, we're never going to have everything figured out. We're never going to have all the details buttoned up on where this could move to or how this could be done, but it should have been better than it was, and I think everybody has expressed that. Just like many people up here, the service that Oshkosh Media provides, I know, I think I've missed one city council meeting in my time, and I probably should have missed more with illness, but I've missed one, and it was when I was in Zambia, and I watched the city council meeting on internet when I could find Wi-Fi. And just being able to do that, that was my first question, was, can people still be able to do this? And the answer was yes. And it was like, okay, well, is this piece going? Is that piece going? And that's where we should have had better answers in the beginning. I will also say that I will applaud staff for being willing to take big swings and miss, rather than being a city and a city government who just keeps doing the same thing every day for 40 years. You know, I joked maybe this one was a hot stove moment, you know, where it's like, oh, we touched something sensitive, and we obviously did. But I would rather be trying to move forward and improve things, and that's really what this is trying to find the best way for our staff. I've heard the plans for what our staff that have spent their time on Oshkosh Media right now, and it's good time, but what they can do otherwise with that time, and I'm excited for that as well. So all those things can be true at the same time. Did I ramble enough? Thank you.
Mr. Spanbar.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to echo a lot of what has been said. I want to thank everybody for coming to speak on the Oshkosh Media topic. I would agree with the folks who laid out some of the items that are listed here from the Friends of group. That I think, you know, what's here is very reasonable, and I'd like to see us work together to address those. I missed the meeting 2 weeks ago because I had the flu, and then I had to also watch the meeting afterwards because that's my job. So I was very thankful that we have, you know, the ability to do that. Right? I think at this point we can all agree, you know, this didn't go the way any of us wanted to. Let's work to fix it. I think we know that. And I've also, you know, talked with Rebecca and others about just making decisions that are data informed, right? I think we want to make data informed decisions. And so far, my experience, I'm coming up on a year of being on council, is that staff do that, right? Staff make data informed decisions. I think where the trip up was this time was that I don't know that all of us had all of that information. And so I think that's where everybody acknowledges maybe we need to be a little more clear about that kind of bi-directional information flow going forward. I also acknowledge that, you know, as a newer council member, I'm also still kind of learning the process. And I think it's something that a lot of citizens maybe aren't always as informed about as well, just sort of like where ideas originate, right? Where directions on things in the city originate. And so while I agree, yeah, like that this is the way that the process is working, I also just want to acknowledge that the the way that this is the way that this process went, I just think could have happened differently. I think we all acknowledge that. I'm losing a little bit of my thought here, but yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Thanks.
Mr. Amos.
Well, first off, I want to, like everyone else, thank everyone that came out tonight and made their voices heard and expressed their concerns. What I have to say aligns with a lot of what many of you up here said, and I appreciate what I've heard tonight from you all and what I've heard up here. With everything that's currently happening in the country right now when it comes to free speech, and people feeling as though their voices are being silenced, I definitely understand the frustration and concerns around this issue. However, I want to say that I do feel the residents of Oshkosh deserve to exercise their rights of free speech. They deserve more transparency when decisions like this are being made, and in addition to that, have their voices heard through the council up here. So each one of us up here represents a certain group of people in the community and the city, and I feel as though when we're not involved in the process, the residents of Oshkosh aren't being heard, and you all deserve that. And with that being said, I highly recommend that we find the best solution to the topic. I can confidently say that I don't think that we have the answer tonight, but I strongly encourage and recommend us as a city to look into what the appropriate solution is to the topic. However, I want to highlight that the staff and the council, I feel as though, are listening to you all. What we've seen tonight represents that the process, like what we've mentioned up here many times tonight. Things happen. We're not always saying that those things are the right things. And you all come to the meeting, you voice your concerns, and we listen to you all, and we move forward based on the things that you guys bring to us, because essentially we're up here representing you all, and you all are the ones who have the final say on how you all want your city and your communities to operate. So I think that we have expressed that we have shown a great amount of concern tonight. We have listened to you all, and I have full confidence that the staff and the council, we are going to find the right solution for you all that would accommodate everyone. So I just want to express that, and I look forward to what we're going to do in the future to accommodate everyone as a whole. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'll go last.
That wasn't a surprise.
That's not a surprise, right? That's
I was going to say
generally
where
what
you
I do.
belong, but
Yeah. Thank you to everyone who has come here tonight, who's reached out in any of the different ways that you have. To council, your thoughtful statements as well tonight on this topic. I don't disagree with much of anything that's been said by anybody tonight. I don't think there's anybody that's just blatantly wrong, and valid points all around. So I will try not to repeat nearly any of it. I'm a process guy. I always have been here at City Council. I'm boring that way. I think the process matters. I think if we have good processes in place, the outcomes are generally going to be pretty good and be well received and be effective. One thing that Rebecca mentioned, or Ms. Grill, I try not to call first name, Ms. Grill mentioned during her statement, change is hard. And I think that's that is the one thing I want to repeat. Change is hard. Human nature really doesn't like, or humans don't like change, and yet it's inevitable. I think there are times when change is painful, and this may be one of those times. I've been up here about 8 years, and for every single one of those years, whether it was a written goal for the city manager, whether it was a stated goal or an implied goal to the city manager and to city staff, we have been clear across all councils that I've served with, find ways to tell our story better. Period. And for many of those years, quite honestly, incremental at best is my assessment of how well we've done in finding better ways to tell our story. We got a whole bunch more Facebook pages. That's about what we got. And while I may or may not like the outcome of this one, personally, my personal beliefs don't matter in this, because we've given direction to tell our story better, and we've got staff who's trying to take a big whack at that. And again, it may be painful, but it may just be the pain that we need to set us on the right path for the next 10 to 20 plus years. Wildly unpopular, most likely, especially to those in this room, and I get that. I hope the willingness to just be direct and honest with you in terms of my thoughts at least clears up where I stand. Don't expect anybody to agree, but I think acknowledging that it can be hard and it is impactful to many, but it may just be what we need to do. We'll see how it goes and plays out over the next several weeks and months, and what the best path charted is, and we'll be a part of that in some fashion, and information will flow. That's my thoughts on that particular one. If there's nothing else on this, council, let's move on to consent agenda, and then the other action items this evening.
So moved. Second.
I do have, let's see here, I have nobody on anything consent related. I have one comment just on, you had something you wanted to talk about first. Why don't you do yours first? I think probably number 8.
Yeah, can we snag number 8 out and number 10 too?
Do you want to pull them for separate votes, or you just want to talk about them?
Oh, can I just?
You absolutely can just,
okay, cool.
If you want to give comments,
Yeah.
you just talk away and we don't pull them.
Sure, then never mind, I won't.
Wait 1 second. Again, thank you guys for coming, sharing your thoughts tonight. Sorry.
You're good. Item number 8 is setting our goals for 2026. I just wanted to briefly run through what those kind of are. These goals were put together in conjunction with this council and Manager Grill. I also say Rebecca too much, so you can correct me if you want. The first goal is to implement and monitor a community engagement plan, ironically. So we will be getting that plan together and we'll be monitoring it as council. I think this item tonight is a good indicator of that. Goal number 2, we want to create a joint economic development strategy with our community partners. The idea behind this was that some of our, like Go EDC, the county, the school district, even some degree, we want to make sure that all government entities and other people who have a stake in the economic well-being of the city are working together and have a joint plan moving forward. Part of that plan, this council kind of talked deeply about housing, redevelopment, revitalizing our downtown, things of that nature. Goal number 3 is to strengthen intergovernmental relationships and explore shared services. So ensuring that Oshkosh, again, is strengthening its relationships with its co-governing bodies, the county, the school district, and then even some of our adjacent towns and other municipalities, wanting to ensure that we're having strong relationships with them, and then potentially looking into how we can be more effective and share services across municipal boundaries or across different levels of government, the county, for instance, explore those opportunities to where both the governments can save some money and still implement the same level of service. Goal number 4 was to advance workplace culture and operational efficiency and structural changes. So this, again, I think really relates to an item we talked about today. We are looking for structural changes at City Hall. I don't think this is the first time we're going to get a crowd in here asking us why we're changing something, but I think that change is warranted. I think that we do need to have a good hard look at a lot of our departments and see where we can be more efficient, where we can better serve our community, and really where we can take Oshkosh to the next level. And I don't think that's just a budgetary thing. I think a lot of the conversation gets involved that we're only doing this because we want to reduce budgets or make budgets smaller. I think it's about making Oshkosh the city and the state, right? It's about making us modern. It's about making us a good place to live. So that was goal number 4. Goal number 5 is review options for long-term financial and organizational stability. This one, I think, ties into a handful of goals that city managers have had in the past, but continuing to talk about areas that we're not getting the funding that we need. I know, very grateful that the state upped their municipal service payment, but again, that still is a fraction of what they could potentially owe us. Some other areas of revenue that could be generated, and just different ways of being able to provide taxation and create long-term stability for a municipality. This isn't, I think, a feature of just Oshkosh. This is something that municipalities, counties, other governments across the state are really seeing. Is this a little bit of a fiscal strain? And I think a lot of it relates to the way we fund our municipalities and the handcuffs that are put on us by the state. So those are our goals.
I think I want to talk about the same one you do, but.
Any other comments on that one? Okay. You had something else you wanted to as well. Is it
I was going to talk about 10. Were you going to talk about 10?
I am
Carl?
going to.
Okay,
So is
you guys
Carl.
can
You
go
go
for
ahead.
it. I just talked.
Number 10, Resolution 26-121. This is the agreement between the Oshkosh City School District and Go Transit to provide free ridership for students here in the city of Oshkosh. I had a little bit of a statement, but then we got an email earlier today from former council member Lindsay Erickson, who happens to serve as a community health strategist here at Winnebago County. And she put together a heck of an email. And so I'm going to steal right from her and share a couple little tidbits as to why I think I'm still extremely supportive of this partnership. As someone who helped get this kicked off a few years ago, it's still very impactful for the community, and really excited for it. So she shares, this is from Lindsay Erickson, 2022-2023 Winnebago County Public Health partnered with UW-Oshkosh Whitburn Center for Governance and Policy Research and community stakeholders to evaluate the impact of this agreement through surveys and focus groups of students and parents. From that, they found 31% of students reported a high impact on school attendance that, let me take a step back, that transportation access directly affects whether students can attend school and participate in activities. 31% of students reported a very high impact on their school attendance being related to transportation access. 40% of parents reported that improved attendance because of this partnership. And that students most impacted were often from households without reliable transportation. They may have been from an immigrant or refugee family, or they were a student of color. The most frequently reported benefit was the ability to participate in social and community activities, which is reported by 61% of students. And families also reported improved access to health care and other essential services, both supporting their mental health and their independence. Kind of wrapping up, the greatest impact reported was on cost savings for financial stability for families. 77% of students and 75% of parents said the program saved their families money. 30% of students reported improved access to jobs. And further highlighting that students also use the bus service for not only to get to school, which was a primary factor in us creating this partnership, but we also knew that there were secondary positives, but to reach after-school programs, healthcare, employment, and safe activities, all of which contribute to a stronger families and a much stronger city. Couldn't have put it better myself. I just want to give her credit for that in that statement there, the message she sent to us. It's a public record. I'm thankful for city staff. I know it was painful at the beginning of this several years ago to do this and to find a willingness to do this. I'm glad we have. I'm glad it's successful, and I'm glad it's helping students get to school safely, on time, putting them in that building where they can learn and then come and take our seats in a few years when they're very well educated. So,
The only thing I'll add to that, because that is pretty wonderful what you've stated, is this was the topic that got me to join the Transit Advisory Board. That was my first foray into it, because this was a battle, and it was important, and I heard from a lot of people in the citizen in our neighbors saying that it was important. And for me now to get up here and see that it's in consent agenda makes me so happy, because it is an assumed continuation of a great partnership. And it just shows how changes can happen throughout time. It takes effort, but the fact that this can now continue in this way is so cool.
Council, any more comments on anything consent related or anything that needs to be pulled? If not, City Clerk, if you'll take the roll on consent.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Beulah.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0.
Excellent. New ordinances. We have two. One was removed, withdrawn by staff. That'll appear at a future agenda item. We do have ordinance 26-15. This is approved comprehensive land use plan map amendment from light density residential to medium and high density residential for properties located near the intersection of Witzel Avenue and Meriden Road. Plan Commission recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? I see none. If you'll take the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Beulah.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0. Carried.
Ordinance 26-13 amends Section 27A-9 of the Municipal Code to designate the alley running north and south between 9th Ave and 10th Ave as one-way for southbound traffic. Transportation Committee recommends approval. I do have Transportation Committee Chair Al Hartman here this evening to share any insights from that board to us. Mr. Hartman, welcome. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank all of you for serving and thank you, Scott. The Transportation Committee was brought to the Transportation Committee by Mr. Collins. He was trying to get ahead of the development that's being proposed for the corner of 10th Avenue and that alley. And so his intent was to kind of get ahead of that given the increased traffic. However, as the committee discussed it, we became actually concerned about it staying, even if the development didn't happen. And we had nothing to say about the development. That's not in our purview. All we were dealing with was the alley and how safely it could be managed. As we discussed it, the 12-foot, the 15-foot maximum it currently is, and actually in some places it's even narrower than 15 feet, caused us concern to have two-way traffic on such a narrow road. We did have a property owner come to the committee and share his perspective. He prefers it not be changed, but he did point out that if we do change it, we originally were proposing to have it go enter on 10th, exit on 9th, so the south to north one way. His concern was he has trouble exiting on 9th sometimes because the alley is so close to Main that if you have two cars at that stoplight, it's difficult to you can't exit on 9th until that traffic completely clears. So based on his comments, we changed the direction so now is you go from 9th to 10th, so you go north to south on that alley. Now, when we voted on this, I thought it was a good decision. You know, I drove that alley before we voted on it. Since then, I've driven that alley. And what I've seen is, and I think Mr. Collins has had the same experience I have, people actually park in that alley. So if you have it two-way traffic, someone is going to be driving in the opposite direction of traffic. So my feeling is, it was even stronger after seeing people actually parking in the alley. So that was our thinking. I must share that two of our members didn't support it. One wanted more information on what was going to happen, and the other one supported the property owner. He didn't want any change. If you have any questions for me on what happened.
Well, first, thank you for serving on the Transportation Committee and all the years of service to the
Also
community.
a thankless job.
Yep. Second, before we get to this topic, shared with you in advance, I appreciate that as the chair of the committee, you've come here to try to share the sentiments of the committee and on behalf of them. Not necessarily in an effort to block city staff, in this case, Mr. Collins, from, pointed questions or anything like that, but that your role is to try to share the sentiments of the citizen body, and I'm just very appreciative of that. So I want to say thank you for being here. You're about the only one who does, and it is welcome and much appreciated. I don't have any comments specific to your guys' action. I think it's reasonable, and it's for this time and for what this project entails, probably the right thing to do. So that's my sentiments, but just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Council, any discussions for, actually, anything for him? No. Any a motion and a second put on the floor.
So moved.
Second. Can I have it?
Go ahead, Mr. Buelow.
So it's kind of interesting because this so closely relies to item number 28, and so it was Plan Commission that we were looking at 28, but most of what they wanted to talk about was the transportation-related issue to it. So I don't know, Jim, if you want my questions now or if you want them when we get to the actual zoning ordinance from Plan Commission.
Yeah, I can answer anything related to the transportation side of it, but then I believe.
So the Plan Commission, admittedly, we went a little left, and then I had to bring them back to what we had to look at. And, I mean, there was ideas of, they wanted to change it back the other way for the one-way going. They wanted possibly speed bumps because they were worried about people racing through there. We heard from neighborhood owners that maybe that the speed would go too fast. So I know that we talked previously, and I asked you to zoom into that, but what would be your answer? I told the Plan Commission that I would get the answers to their concerns.
Sure. As Mr. Hartman stated, after one of the two major property owners had suggested that the one-way alley be reversed, so 9th exit on 10th, that, that seems to be a reasonable request, and the Transportation Committee agreed. I've actually also done some observations there. 10th is a lot less heavily traveled. I heard a concern at the Plan Commission about school traffic. I actually was there at school release. The school that was concerned is further west. There really was no school traffic anywhere near this alley. So I think the direction is reasonable. As far as the speed goes, it's an alley. It's 15 feet wide and it's one block. I mean, I have a hard time believing that there's a whole lot of speeding going on there. And as Mr. Hartman also stated, I also drove there a couple times, and there were two cars parked in the alley, one on each side of the alley, both facing in opposite directions. So it was pretty difficult to get around the cars there. So I think that regardless of the development, I think this is still should be a one-way alley. I know there were some concerns about the traffic volume. Obviously, if the development goes through, there will be increased traffic. However, that being said, we're talking about 30 to 40-ish parking stalls. It's possible at, peak hours, which generally are when people are going to work or coming home, there might be a few extra cars, but I doubt that all the traffic's going to be coming and going at the same time every day. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe some people would think it might be. So overall, I think the one-way alley makes sense based on, it's 15 feet wide and it actually narrows on one end, closer to 10th. And then there was also a couple other discussions which I believe we've addressed in some of the materials. However, one other recommendation was possibly to look at the driveway off of 10th, which I know staff did initially. However, it doesn't meet code for spacing requirements because it's so close to South Main, then an alley, and then you had another driveway, and that actually makes it even worse because now you got 3 potential intersections with conflicts. And then vacating the right-of-way was another thing that they discussed at Plan Commission, which was evaluated towards the beginning of this project, but there are a number of city utilities that run through that alley that just wouldn't make a lot of sense for us at this time.
Thank you. And I saw Mr. Robbie pop up as soon as I said speed bump. I'm guessing you're going to tell us how terrible they are for snowplows? Okay, no. Okay.
Just getting started, you want me to come up?
Oh, no, I just know that that's from different conversations that snowplows and speed bumps typically do not get along well together, and especially in an alleyway like that.
Yeah, and generally, just so people are aware, as a matter of policy, we get a lot of requests for speed bumps. I do anyway. And generally, we look at those, we generally only install those during construction because they are pretty expensive, but we also need to do an evaluation ahead of time because to make sure that there actually is an issue that's going to be solved, because there are downsides to speed bumps as well, like you mentioned, snow plows as well as other operational considerations. But so that's something that we do evaluate pretty thoroughly before we would install those. And like I said, it just practically this wouldn't be a great location either way.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I guess just clarification on conversation that happened at Plan Commission. Did they ask about Main Street or anything? I had an individual reach out and talk about this one and why they maybe voted no, but I'm a little, I'm looking at this, it's 15 feet. We would never allow a two-way street on a 15-foot street. I'm confused as to why.
Sure. I can attempt to answer this, and Mr. Robbie can help me if needed, but I think I know most of it. So South Main Street is part of the Sawdust District redevelopment. So we are working with WISDOT that will be doing a road project on South Main Street in the near future. As part of that, they're looking at possibly widening the right-of-way in conjunction, or the roadway, I should say, in conjunction with that project. In order for that road to go somewhat straight, they are looking at possibly acquiring some land on the east side of Main Street. The one business owner that spoke, I believe, as a property owner on the east side of the street that may be affected. Therefore, she was recommending with this project maybe that the right-of-way be kind of curved so that it goes along the west side instead of having to acquire property on the east side. The issue with that is that this development doesn't affect all the property on the west side, so there is some other private property that would have to be acquired to make that happen in addition to the developer, and it would also create kind of a jogged roadway, and that is not consistent with the Sawdust District Plan and or really advisable from a traffic standpoint. So that's, in reality, that's not really that practical, but that was what the suggestion was, that that the right-of-way be taken from the other side of the road as opposed to the east side.
Okay. I think maybe I'm veering off of this topic a little bit. I'll talk maybe more as the agenda item continues, but yeah, this is a 15-foot right-of-way, super hard to drive down. I think making it a one-way is makes sense.
Any other questions from council? Community Development, Director Rakowski, would you mind, only because it got brought up and I want to get clarity, during Plan Commission, within the Plan Commission's purview, is traffic and the impacts of traffic within their purview?
Typically, no, because we have a transportation committee that would address those items. However, in this case, there was one condition of the GDP, which is the third item on council's agenda tonight, that has a condition requiring this alley to become one-way. So they did have some traffic questions concerning that, which we were happy to address.
Okay. Reason I ask, I am concerned about Plan Commission and veering off of their very specific, narrow purview and how often that has been occurring. So that's the reason for my questioning. So thank you for that
We're working
answer.
on that.
Appreciate that. Council, any other questions on 26-13? If not, City Clerk, please take the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugerauer.
Aye.
7-0.
Ordinance 26-16 approves zone change from 2-flat residential 10 district, TR10, to central mixed use with a planned development overlay for the properties located at 14 West 10th Avenue and 20 West 10th Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
First, I just am going to talk about, I like this development, right? I mean, it's affordable housing. I'm really glad that we're seeing our Main Street kind of densify. It plays a little bit into that alley question, which is why maybe I held off a little bit. But I just want to point out that while this is, that parking lot is getting rid of a duplex, we are getting a net gain in housing there because it's about 23 units. Am I correct in my 20-something? 49, way more than I thought, so good. Also wanted to really highlight that this project uses one of the state programs, the Vacancy to Vitality Program. Super great use of funds there and state funding to ensure that we get a lot of affordable housing as we need. Back into the question on the alleyway, Sarah, I shot you this ahead of time. Is it possible that we can share that Sawdust District plan and the kind of road renderings or road streetscape that we had just to the public so they're aware that this is happening as we start to develop this area? We want to keep that kind of forefront of mind, so.
Absolutely. It's something that we've been working on in community development, not just along South Main, but just in that general area
Sure.
of focusing on walkability that I've been talking about with council as well. So we're putting together some, in essence, talking points, and when we're ready, we plan on rolling it out. But if anybody wants to see the SAW District Plan, which does outline this, that is available to members of the public, and then also, James might have to talk about this one. I don't know if we have road plans available yet for this one, because that's a little bit
And yeah, I'm
further
not
out.
expecting like engineered road plans
But-
by any means, just.
Yeah, those are a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
The funner plans are in
Yeah.
community development. Don't keep funner on the record.
No, Sarah's got it right. We're way too far from being able to have plans available, but certainly the Sawdust District master plan has the conceptual
Yeah.
layout, which is the basis for what we're working with the DOT on.
Sure, okay, cool. And yeah, like I said, I think if we make sure folks see that, Plan Commission is well aware of it, maybe we have some newer members that I think that, not old, but relatively old plan.
Don't forget, community development is doing our department updates at the next council meeting. So one of the things that I'll be touching on is the plans that we're planning on looking into and where we're going to take community development in the future.
Cool.
If there's nothing else, we'll take the roll in 2616.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0.
Resolution 26-120, approve general development plan for a two-flat residential use and off-site parking lot at 14 West 10th Avenue and 20 West 10th Avenue. Plan Commission recommends approval.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on this one? I don't see any. When you're ready, she'll take the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0.
Just a couple more resolutions. Resolution 26-122, approve special event, University of Wisconsin Oshkosh to hold the spring and mid-year commencement at UW Oshkosh Golf Sports Center, May 16th and December 19th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Present.
Blum.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye. Last action item, Resolution 26-119, approve combination Class B beer liquor license surrender and issue combination Class B beer liquor license. And this is from Water City Pub, 216 North Main Street, to Fox and Crow Bistro, 216 North Main Street.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the surrender and reissuance? I see none. When you're ready, take the roll.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Blum.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye.
7-0.
That wraps up action items. We have some council discussion, direction to city manager, as well as future agenda items. First one, under discussion direction, this is a discussion regarding proposed updates to Chapter 2 regarding the procedure to fill a mayoral or council vacancy. This is from me. This is a follow-up from a few meetings back. Forget when we chatted about it first. Took the feedback that was given from council. Thank you for that. Took that back. Worked on updating a little bit, providing some points of clarification in the attached document. Now is the time for a discussion. I would like, if possible, to walk away with here with some direction to staff to start working on an update, whether it is all of this or a portion of this. That is entirely up to really the rest of you, quite honestly. You can go right ahead.
Sure. The only small quibble I have with this is the first part that says within 7 days of a vacancy or anticipated vacancy, just how that would come up. Like, would we post for it before vacancy was even open, if it was anticipated? Just how to administer that.
Not much different than currently. Someone could, let's use the last example, right? Mr. Larson turned in a resignation effective X date, basically it was effective immediately. But someone could also say, hey, I am going to be done effective June 1st, and they could be telling us right now. And so, right, that process could be kicking off. The vacancy hasn't occurred, but it is, it's anticipated. Is I guess the best explanation for that.
Short answer on the rest of it, I think it's great, and so I'd have my nodding head yes, or yes vote, or whatever you need to.
Sure. Mr. Stevenson, or excuse me, Deputy Mayor.
You're good. I have a nodding head too. The only thing that I would insert in this, I think we talked a little bit about moving into closed session. I would just like language that says like something like the council reserves the option to move into closed session to discuss candidates or something like that. I think our last process was clunky, and not our last process, every single process that this has happened is clunky that we all sit here and look at our candidates. I would like for council to go into closed session, talk about the candidates, and come out with like a unified front is what my like ideal would be.
City Attorney Praska, I think you'd like to share something on that one.
You can't do that. You can't go into closed session for that. There's an
Why
Attorney
does-
General opinion and a court case.
Okay. Then never mind.
He did extensive research, 2 pages long.
Yeah, there's been some confirmed written opinions from not only the AG, but also some other court case stuff, I think, that backs up some of the decisions on that, so.
Then we will continue to have the most awkward interview process known to man.
It is, and it's okay, in my opinion. I mean, it is
Yeah.
a public process, and you get to see how the sausage is made, forgive the example, but, yeah. Mr. Floam, followed by Mr. Nichols.
Thank you. For me, most of these things look pretty good. I'm glad that we did the research on the way we vote and the way we do this. Would not like to run afoul of an Attorney General's opinion after we've gone forward and made a policy. So it's good catch there. Only thing I would like to see is some potential tightening of the timeframes and giving some clarification on how close an appointment would be to an election. However, I do realize that in the instance of potential multiple vacancies, we could run into issues with quorum. So if that's the case, I will steer clear of that. But if there's, if council reserves the right to not make an appointment given the proximity of an election, I just want to make sure we retain that right. I know that we've talked about when nomination papers go out, which is roughly 5-ish months before an election, that would be a good deadline, so to speak, an informal deadline. It's fine with me if we keep it informal so long as we maintain that lane in the instance of multiple vacancies and running into issues with quorum. Outside of that, I do like the included section on special elections. I don't think we've really, at least to my knowledge, we've really gone there as a city before in terms of non-state or federal special elections. I think this gives an opportunity for the community to have an input on who the next mayor is before the next scheduled regular election. So I like that, and outside of that, I appreciate the work and the research that's been done here.
Mr. Nichols.
I think all of this is great. I think I wanted to mention just the members of the media here, and so I didn't want the statement to be that council desired for a closed session. I just wanted to make that clarification, that a council member made that clarification. I'm appreciative of the Supreme Court's ruling, or the court case there, that we will do this publicly and openly.
You can throw me under the bus if you want.
Mr. Amos.
For me, my only concern is the amount of time that a vacancy can be left available. And I just want to make sure that as we move forward with this, that a vacancy isn't left available for a long, extended period of time. I think we just have to, as I mentioned before, like consider the main purpose of the structure of the council, and with having 7 people up here, or an odd number of people, that is in place for a reason. I think at the last meeting, we saw how not having an uneven amount of council members on a day has impacted a decision that was made. And so what I don't want to happen is I don't want us to result in any like dreadlocks where we're not able to like get anything done, or if there's a situation where all voices of the community isn't being heard. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, like each one of us up here represent a group of people in the community, and it's essential that all seats are filled as much as possible to ensure that all voices of the community are being heard. So that's my biggest thing. Again, so I'm just going to reiterate that I think that if there's an opportunity to fill the vacancy, I think that we should fill a vacancy. I am in agreement with the fact that if it's after December 1st and candidates are able to take out papers and run a campaign and let the people decide on who they want to be up here, I think that's appropriate, but anything outside of that, I think that we should definitely fill the vacancy if we're able to. So.
Just for some clarification for, while this is in the council agenda tonight, intentions, still for a council vacancy would go through the appointment process as part of this. That's part of this. The election part is really referencing mayor only. Council still needs to fill those spots. That's how this is designed, at least. I think it's efficient, puts the butt in that seat as quick as possible, to your point, without leaving somebody vacant. I think for me, the mayoral part of this is, I think I painted this picture in the past, and if I did, forgive me, I'll do it for 30 seconds here. But had a vacancy occurred at a certain point in the last 9 to 12 months, or even a little bit farther from that, there were absolutely 3 people that sit up here that would have wanted to be mayor, and for them to remove themselves from the discussion and voting, have to go out into that part of the room and go through that process, would have left potentially 3 people up here, and you can't do anything with 3 people. So the reason for putting a process in place at least is to ensure that somebody's in charge, somebody's moving us forward, and then there is a process to keep that, get those seats filled as quick as possible, in a nutshell. So if you guys, from it sounds like you're okay with having staff move this forward, and then it'll come back in the future. I see there was a lot of affirmation, so good. If staff could move this forward at a future meeting, clean up any of the typos and grammatical errors that this non-strong English student created.
English wasn't your favorite
English was not, if I was in front doing the pledge, English would not have been my favorite subject. So appreciate the conversation and guidance on this one, fellow council members. Next topic, discussion, this is from city staff, discussion regarding proposed updates to chapter 4, 5, and 30 of the City of Oshkosh Municipal Code regarding alcohol licensing, special events, and temporary use permits, specifically to eliminate some redundant requirements currently required of applicants, including language regarding required use of license, and clarify the timeline to reapply to the Common Council after license denial. Ms. Grill?
Yes, so there's nothing attached, but we're working through some of our processes to put them into our new software solution. So as such, we're going through a special event permit, and we found some areas, that's one part of this, that could be improved. Just, they relate to some zoning requirements that we're always waiving and things like that, so why not just put that in the code, and just some duplication of like temporary extensions, beer garden extensions, just the city clerk and I just have some different ideas about how to streamline things for applicants. So that's one part of that. So we wanted to just let you know that that would be coming soon. Regarding the requirements to use their licenses, that's not in here. Include language regarding the required use of licenses. So if we wanted to have a discussion about if people aren't using their license to its fullest, is that something that you would want something written that they could be revoked, or you would take it back? For example, someone has a full combo and they just have it even though they don't serve intoxicating liquor. They could have a C wine and a B beer instead, because they're just serving fermented malt beverages and wine. This could be somewhat complicated to prove, but there are also requirements for people to keep their purchases, their receipts on site and things like that. So you could verify somewhat, but this is something that is probably a good idea to do in a municipality where our quota licenses are pretty valuable, and we'll give you some not so good news about that in a few minutes. So just wanted to get some consensus about if that's something you would like us to include.
I think in the past, as part of either the workshop or even follow-ups from the workshop, that was something that was a general agreed upon consensus that I don't think we agreed on what the determining factor was exactly, but yes, that language, making sure that those were being used effectively, and
Yeah.
that there are economic development tool for the
Mhm.
communities to own, and to make sure that they're the highest and best use. Is that a fair assessment
I'd
of
say
past discussions?
yes, and appropriate type. How we administer that, I leave to your wisdom, and how we communicate that. We will have to do a very good job. But yes, I would love to see that.
Mr. Amos, Jacob, then followed by Jacob. No.
Well, I just wanted to ask really quickly to the attorney, will we be like exposing ourselves to any like litigation risk by like taking licenses back from a business after granting those licenses?
Yes. I mean, you're always exposing yourself. We've talked about this before, the license is a property right, so we have to be careful about how it's taken, the reasons it's taken, the due process that's provided. I mean, the issue, as the city manager indicated, is it's complicated, it's not easy, and to Councilmember Bulow's advice, just figure out a way to make it happen, so that what you'll be presented with could be complicated and has some issues, but you're the policy body, so certainly it's a good discussion to have. Did I answer your question?
Recommendation-wise, is this a direction that you would recommend us to go in?
Well, it's a policy decision, and I guess it depends on the details. Certainly, if you want to go down a certain legal path, I might advise you to be cautious when you go down that path. That would be my code word, I guess, so. I think it's fine to have the discussion. I know I sat through the workshop, and it's important to all of you. It's important to lots of people, so we're perfectly happy to have that discussion. We'll do the best we can as to lay out something that is workable, and you will give us direction from there.
So my last question is, so do you think it would be best to just establish like clear findings that we abide by when granting those licenses, so that we are like not put in a position where we should have to like, or consider taking a license back?
Yes, I think you should have clear guidance both on the front end and on the back end. So front end, when licenses are issued, I think it would be my recommendation that the code is clear as to what the expectations of those licenses are, so that you have the foundation if, in the unfortunate circumstance, you have to do something on the back end. Because if there's nothing in the code that gives guidance as to what the license is expected to be used for, then certainly that's problematic legally for you on the back end if you're going to tell them they weren't using it properly.
Those were my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Floam, followed by Mr. Bulow.
I understand the sentiment. I do have some concerns about our legal exposure. It puts an extraordinary burden of proof on the city to show that somebody is not using these licenses correctly, and could also open us up to some pretty big litigation. I'm not asking the interim city attorney to know this off the top of his head, But I'm sure there's existing case law on this somewhere. I'm sure there's existing policies that other cities may or may not have about this. And then also, I think it's probably the most Wisconsin thing I've ever heard that we're going to potentially get into legal action with somebody for not serving enough alcohol. So just in terms of the semantics on this and the details, I understand what we're trying to do. We have a limited quota. We want to make sure they're used in the most efficient way and the most effective way possible. But at the same time, outside of strong recommendations, I don't really know what else we can do without putting us on shaky legal ground. So I would encourage some research on that. That would be my instruction to staff on this. But I do think that our options may not be as robust as we may like to think they are on this.
Mr. Bulow.
I'll take my turn to apologize because I forgot a key point of what I wanted to bring up is I want the policy to state you must use the appropriate license to try to compel voluntary compliance with it first. I am not in favor of any litigation. I'm very litigation adverse. So the idea is that we create the policy so then we can go to them and say, hey, this is the policy that council has. We don't think that you may be, utilizing the correct license here. We can get you this one and this one. You can still continue your current operations and still free up it for somebody else. So it can be a conversation, not a enforcement mechanism.
So
Clear as mud?
a policy in the ordinance?
I want the policy to state that the ordinance to state that it is required to use your license and use the appropriate license. And then I leave it to your wisdom of how do we enforce that? Hopefully voluntarily with a conversation, hopefully never with litigation, but that would be the,
So you're basically setting the expectation.
Correct.
The council can get sued for
Anything,
anything
anytime.
at any time.
Yep, correct. Yep.
So we will also, Councilmember Foam is correct. Before we bring anything to you, we will do some research on that. So we can confidently or unconfidently say, here it is, and here's what you might or might not want to do.
Yeah, we only have one lawyer on this side and it's not me, so please bring me something that doesn't get us sued.
And then there's one more component to this, as far as a timeline to reapply. So if someone's been denied for a certain license, should there be something added like there is, I believe, for plan zoning cases, permits? There's like a 1-year waiting period. I don't know if that seems a little long. I don't know if that's 6 months or something the council would like to.
So what you're trying to,
something?
let me ask this, are you trying to prevent someone who is denied today, reapplying tomorrow, denied at the next meeting, reapplied again? Basically trying to prevent
Yes.
that scenario where someone continues to.
And they could currently they could immediately apply again after denial, like right
Yes.
now? Okay.
Probably the best question to ask is what have others done? Or what are others doing in this area, probably. That's a common thing we try to ask. There's probably some reasonableness to somewhere between 60 days and something else. What that is.
Yeah. I think if it's a situation that was like, that took place at the last meeting, I don't think they should have to wait a whole year for it. I think it should be like a sooner turnaround time. But like you said, if it's like back-to-back meetings and they're being denied, it's like, all right, it should be an extended period of time, longer than about 2 to 3 months.
So I think, yes, what it is, probably ain't going to get that answer from us, and you may be best suggesting that with some information to back it up.
Okay.
Fairly put, counsel? Okay. Before that, though, I do want to say thank you on the trying to eliminate redundancy, make it easier for businesses and events to host, and event holders to host events here. Anything we can do to streamline and improve that process is always appreciated, not just by us, but also those entities.
We
So-
also wanted to do it for ourselves.
Yeah, that's great. Selfishly, because there's 18 forms in triplicate. No, yeah. So again, all things that we continue to to task you with and continue to try to find ways to do that. So keep up that good work.
Thank you.
Quick point of order, Mr. Mayor, I had
Yeah.
something to add on this
Oh,
topic.
sorry. I missed that. I apologize.
Yeah, I would just, not to go over what everyone else has just said, but anything to clean up red tape, I appreciate, both for staff and for applicants and people in business. I would support a soft cooling off period for somebody who has been denied. I think, anywhere in the neighborhood of 60 days is probably adequate. We can do some research and see what other people have done. I think a year is a bit too much, in my opinion.
Anything more on that one?
No. Then the next item is just, we'll be bringing updates to the code. We've had a lot of different title changes in different departments and separation of the engineering from Public Works, and so we need to update those in the code, so we'll be bringing those hopefully soon.
Good.
I want to say when, because I don't want to scare Dave. Although there's 3 weeks between now and the next council meeting.
You can wait
so.
3 weeks if you want, really.
How hard could it be, right?
If there's nothing else on any of those, future agenda items, meetings, and workshops. Reminder, next council meeting, different than in the past. It is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, 6 PM here. And then April will be on a different schedule than we have in the past as well for anybody listening or writing on this. Future agenda item or workshop, I do want to just give a little heads up. I chatted with city manager and gave Public Works a brief heads up. Brief would be probably an overstatement. Sometime in the near future, I'd like to hear about and/or talk about Public Works, snow and ice, clean streets, and/or what it would be, what it would take, what it would cost to provide a higher level of service when it comes to snow and ice removal in the community. Right now, some feedback, we receive feedback all the time, but we get feedback that indicates residents, property owners feel as though they're second class when it comes to snow and ice removal, specifically in residential neighborhoods, where if you're on Main Street, you could get several passes and have a clean street before your residential street is ever even touched, if at all. And the sentiment is we all pay the same taxes, or the tax rate, and yet we receive different levels of service. So reason I bring it up now and don't anticipate any information or action soon, but it has budget implications. That process already has begun for the next year, I'm sure of it. And that's the reason for bringing it up. So sometime in the future, would like to have a little bit of information or discussion at some point on that topic. So. Any other agenda meetings or workshop stuff from council? Otherwise, council member announcements and statements.
One that I'm really excited about, next Monday, the 16th, the League of Women Voters Candidate Forum is going to be, what is normally here, it is going to be at the Grand Oshkosh. So the doors will open at 5 p.m. The forum will start at 6 p.m. As always, but one small upgrade is there will be a cash bar available if you choose to have a soda or any other beverage while you watch the candidates. But I know it's a very popular way for people to go out and see the candidates and hear their opinions. You will be able to submit questions just like you do when it's here as well. And it will be live streamed and recorded on Oshkosh Media as it always is.
Are the candidates allowed to have a beverage?
I think it's mandatory for them.
Mr. Spanbauer.
Two things. One, I just wanted to take the opportunity to announce that the city is working on kind of a one-year plan strategy to develop the next sustainability action plan. And so there is currently a survey available for folks to take and tell us about how we can be more sustainable in a lot of different areas around the city. That survey is open until April 30th. And we are also looking for folks to be a part of the community input team. And so the application to apply for the community input team closes March 29th, so we've got a couple more weeks to consider that. And that is, will be kind of a team of folks, I think, from city staff, individuals who want to apply. We're looking for business members, right? Folks from all different kinds of backgrounds and vantage points within the community. There's some information on the city website about kind of just like time commitment. I will say the community input team says here approximately 3 to 5 hours per month, April through August. So just putting that out there for folks who might want to consider that. The second item I wanted to bring up was I had an opportunity last week to present as an elected official as part of the Foxwolf Watershed Conference, and got to work with Justin from Public Works, which was really great, and then one of our consultant partners as well, and just wanted to report that we presented on our TMDL kind of water standards that we updated in the city, and are already getting a lot of really positive feedback. Other communities were actually very pleasantly surprised with our presentation, and so I think it was kind of a home run. So just wanted to share that.
Excellent. Any other council member announcements or statements? Ms. Grill, I think the rest is yours.
Sure. For number 34, we're working on removing the parking lot at Red Arrow Park. I don't know if anyone's been over there lately, but it's kind of like Mars there because it's falling in because of what it's built on. So that'll be coming up. Just wanted to let you know that that was happening.
On that topic, when I read the staff memo on it, this one's going to have an impact. I know it's going to be limited to, April to September from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. generally. But the assumption that the neighborhood can absorb that level of vehicular parking is probably a little off. So taking that amount of parking spaces away, I know it is a horrible parking lot. The rating shows it. It's a complicated site, to say the least. But losing that ability in that space is going to have a negative impact on the quality of life in that neighborhood, in my opinion. So in the future, whatever parks and traffic can do to attempt to mitigate that into the future in that space, in that area, probably would be a great thing. And maybe it's a conjunction, a partnership with the school district. I do know they have future plans for West High School, and maybe that helps. Maybe it doesn't, but it's going to have an impact over there. So, but I do know driving through there is at your own risk currently. So that's all I really have. Not telling you to stop, just providing extra commentary.
And then before we get into the clerk's office update, I just wanted to give a little update about the city center property that we've been having a lot of discussions internally. We're continuing to be engaged with complicated discussions and negotiations regarding that site. As our conversations are continuing, we remain focused on doing what is in the best interest of Oshkosh, and considering our taxpayer resources, being mindful of the businesses that are located there as leasing, considering long-term opportunities. It is 17 acres on the waterfront. And as a side note, one of the things that attracted me to come to Oshkosh was the opportunity we have downtown and along our waterfront. Few communities have that type of assets that we do. Walkable downtown, access to both a river and a lake. Sites like this that could play a significant role in the next chapter of our city's growth. One of the things that could happen if the city were to acquire the property, it would give the ability for the community to shape the long-term vision for this important location. It could allow us to plan thoughtfully for the redevelopment that strengthens downtown, supports local businesses, creates new housing and activity along the riverfront, and ensures that the site is developed in a way that benefits the entire community over time. At the same time, we also recognize decisions like this have to be carefully evaluated. We want to consider the financial implications, the needs of the businesses, and the potential opportunities that could come from redevelopment there. As such, we're going to be opening a community survey for residents, businesses, and stakeholders so they can share thoughts about the potential future redevelopment of that site. The survey link will be available soon, and we'll share it on our website and through POCL. So I just wanted to let people know about that. And then, the city clerk.
Hi.
Good
I've been
evening.
quiet tonight. Jake, can you help me out with the PowerPoint? I'll just give you a hey-oh when I need to switch the slides, since I'm sitting over here. But I'm going to try and keep this really brief. Drew started last week with the Communication and Engagements Department. I'm going to take it away, and Sarah's going to follow me next meeting. So I just wanted to give a general update. Jake, you can go ahead. On what we have going on in the clerk's office, a little bit of everything. So a lot of balls in the air right now with elections, looking backward into February, looking forward into April. Alcohol beverage licensing season is upon us. Bartender licensing is constant. We have the tax exempt properties this year, and then ordinance updates, which we've discussed almost all of them already tonight, so I can kind of skip over that. Yep. In elections, so to backtrack a little bit, in February, truly positive feedback for our early voting location at Culver. People made comments of, quite an upgrade, and wow, this is different than Irving, and a lot of excitement about the curbside option and people using that. So that site is great. Looking forward to April, we'll get back to our normal, that 2-week time frame instead of the shortened time frame we had in February, so that'll be March 24th to April 3rd. We did agree to a late night in there, so the first night of voting, Tuesday, March 24th, we'll be there until 7, and then we did also get a Saturday. So Saturday, March 28th, we'll be there from 8 to noon. So we were able to get those in there to get that opportunity to voters. As far as Election Day, so I was hoping the gentleman would still be here, but that's quite an ask this late into the evening. But actually, the thing that I wanted to note is we actually got 0, not 1, call, email, residents stopping saying they went to the wrong polling place or they were confused about their polling place on Election Day. And I was expecting it. I was expecting the calls and people saying, I'm at Father Carr's right now and what's going on? And I thought there was an election and we didn't get any. We did put signs on all of the retired polling places saying, stop, you don't vote here today, go to wherever it is. And I don't know if that's where that came from. We're going to do the same for the rest of the elections this year, but the feedback that we got tonight was actually the first that I had heard. So I obviously took some notes, and we'll look into all of that. Absentee ballot mailing, so our first big batch, the deadline is next week. That'll be about 3,500 that go out, pending, how many we have by then, and then they'll go out daily thereafter. So that's that first big batch of everyone that has an absentee request on file. And then central count went great for February. I was so happy to report they were packed up, totally processed, everything done by about 9:15, and they took a super long break in the middle of the day intentionally because they were worried about getting done so early and the PM shifters not learning how to process ballots. So I'm feeling very confident going into a bigger election. That new machine that you let us acquire is fast and easy to learn and really is a great asset for Oshkosh. So thank you for that. One thing that I did want to note with that new machine though, is we do have to actually physically drive the election results only from central count to the county. Now, thank goodness, it's a couple blocks away, but there is a little bit of a delay. It's not modeming like it is at our polling places, so there is a small delay there. We are working with Julie Bartles, the county clerk, to have them either modify their unofficial results site to have central count be its own reporting unit, Not sure if they're going to be able to do that within their system, but at least get some language on there, letting the public know, these municipalities, because it's not just Oshkosh, it's Village Fox Crossing, and I'm not sure if City of Nena's doing it anymore. They kind of go back and forth. But we're not the only ones that it'll show 100% is in for the night. Well, all of our polling places are in, but central count's still coming behind it. So I did kind of draft up some language that I got from another county website, sent it over to Julie. She said definitely we can make a change to the website, so that will be in place for April, because I did get some questions on that.
And central count is absentee ballots?
Yes, it is. Sorry, processing absentee ballots, yes.
I very much appreciate that. I know that there's been some confusion on
Yes.
that in the past from people, so any clarification that's possible will go a long way.
And actually, it's so interesting because the municipality I worked for before, Village of Fox Crossing, we've always had central count and have never had this question. So my first election with a small turnout to have this question, I'm thinking, why didn't we always have this language on the county website? How has this never come up before? So I love the feedback. I love it. Okay, going into alcohol beverage licensing. So like I said, we're coming up on renewal season. We actually just started today kind of working on hey, licensees, this is the new process coming. We have OpenGov, which we've talked about a million times up here at the software platform that we're very excited about. So all of our licensing applications are going to be able to be online rather than paper. This process is going to be great. So we are going to be rolling out just an informational, hey, this is coming. Licensing is a little bit later than normal because we're not doing it on paper. But that's currently in the works. We've been working internally on the backside of OpenGov, meeting after meeting. We're set to go live, maybe early to mid-April. I say that really confidently. At least for the clerk's office. So we are kind of steering this because we're on this tight deadline. That's specifically for the alcohol beverage licensing. Bartender licensing is going to come after. That's a constant. That's an everyday. We have people rolling in. So that's not such a hard line in the sand. So that's coming. Very excited. So with all of this, City Manager Grill asked our department to do a very comprehensive, thorough review of the city's issued alcohol beverage licenses, Class A, Class C, Class B, Combo, and Reserve, everything from 2020 to current. As you guys know, there's been a lot of staffing changes in the clerk's office. We've had a couple programs. There was nothing, then there was Evolve, now we're going to OpenGov, so a lot of changes within that. So it was found that the city actually currently has 133 combination quota licenses issued. We are only allowed 132 by state statute. Once this error was identified, we addressed the problem within our department. Right away, we implemented a double checking and an auditing system for going forward. And currently, we're working with some combination quota license holders who maybe aren't fully using their license and want to think about relinquishing, and just kind of brainstorming a couple leads that us three and a couple others have been talking about internally of how do we rectify this situation. We do still have we have 2 reserve licenses issued, 9 available, and 2 of the Premier Economic Development District licenses still available as well. Those just come with a higher cost. And then finally, Jake, ordinance updates. I don't really have a lot to say that we didn't just discuss. Everything that I have up there is everything that Rebecca already in detail went into. So just things that we're working on behind the scenes, and then tax exempt reporting. That happens every other. It's a even year responsibility that our office is working on. Property owners have a deadline of March 31st. I'd say right now we have maybe coming up on 55% back so far. So that's something that we're working on as well. And I'm happy to answer questions, and thank you guys for your support, and this has been a really great transition for me so far, coming in only 4 or 5 months in, and whew, wow, we've done a lot.
You have.
Yeah.
It's not an understatement. We've had turnover, some say significant, right? And you guys have done a ton in a short amount of time. Speaking only for me, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some nodding heads. Appreciate the update. some other departments do that, those are very welcome to know what's going on and to have a heads up as to things that may be coming, so we can also ask questions in advance. Those are very welcome and much appreciated, so thank you.
Thank you.
Especially, it's nice to get the updates before you're asking us for budget enhancements. Like,
We're
always-
trying to do that at least once a month with a different, if
Excellent.
not twice. a
Like
month.
it. Very nice. Anything else? Otherwise, I think the deputy mayor would like to.
I do. I have to look it up, though. I exited out, sorry.
Yep.
I move to go into closed session pursuant to Section 19.51E of Wisconsin State Statute, where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, parameters, and terms related to potential redevelopment and/or acquisition of property located at 101 Commerce Street and 201 Pearl Avenue in the city of Oshkosh, commonly known as the City Center, and Section 19.851E of Wisconsin State Statute, where competitive bargaining reasons require closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, parameters, and terms related to potential redevelopment and/or acquisition of property located at 118 High Avenue, commonly known as the Gunderson property, and 114 High Avenue, commonly known as Thompson Studio property, both in the city of Oshkosh. Then, for Section 19.851E of the Wisconsin State Statutes, where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, parameters, and terms related to the memorandum of understanding with GOH Inc. and the potential sale, leasing, or redevelopment of the Grand Opera House.
second.
Discussion, or it's actually, you just want to say it right away?
You know what I'm going to say?
Go ahead.
I will be stepping out for anything related to 118 High, 114 High, or the Grand Oshkosh.
We have a motion and a second for that. Council, as part of the agenda this evening, you received background information for all three of those, specifically related to City Center, the Gunderson property, Thompson Studio property, and Grand Opera House redevelopment. Council, is there any questions regarding the background material that we were provided in advance? If not, City Clerk, if you take the roll on going into closed session.
Nichols.
Aye.
Amos.
Aye.
Spanbauer.
Aye.
Flom.
Aye.
Buelow.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mugrauer.
Aye. I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn.
So, second.
Who's the first on that one?
Flom.
Flom.
He beat me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.